Doesn't look like that second act is working out for Tia Mowry. Just saying. Coming to paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA from the Black Boule in this action-packed all-new John Haynes series adventure. Pre-order your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. Better get the coleslaw, y'all, cause we're having us a barbecue. Are Tia Mowry and Cory Hardrict getting back together? Now, according to some reports in gossip websites, it's being speculated that actress Tia Mowry is getting back with her ex-husband, Cory Hardrict. Now, Tia Mowry, back in 2022, filed for divorce from her husband, Cory Hardrict, who she shares 2 children with, and wanted to divorce Cory Hardrict not because he did anything wrong, like adultery or domestic violence, but because she wanted to go out here and experience the world of dating. And as she's gone out here and experienced the world of dating, Tia Mowry wound up experiencing a rude awakening as she graduated from marriage and walked into a social marketplace where the prospects of finding another partner were slim to none. And as she entered into that social marketplace looking to try to experience dating, Tia Mowry soon found out that the world of dating wasn't all it was cracked up to be, as she was trying to rebuild her life on her own in what she tried to promote in a reality show called Tia Mowry, My Second Act. Unfortunately, it's looking like that second act is coming to a close, and coming to a close with Tia Mowry going back to her husband, Cory Hardrict, if these reports are true, with her tail between her legs in an ignominious fashion, realizing that the attempt to have a second act just basically ended in a complete disaster. Now, this whole situation with Tia Mowry looking to possibly go back to Cory Hardrict basically is the only option that Tia Mowry possibly has as related to her whole life at this point, because at 46 years old, when it comes down to the social marketplace, there's no options for Tia Mowry at this point, and the best thing for her at this point is to go back to her husband. Now, Cory Hardrict in and of himself doesn't really have to take Tia Mowry back, but him being a man of character, he basically is possibly only doing this basically for his 2 children, so that they won't go out here and grow up to become men and women in crisis, because they didn't have that father there who stood up and supported them. And at this point, those kids definitely need their father to be a man of character and integrity and stand up for them, because it's looking like their mother basically is showing us that she didn't have really good character when she made these decisions. So Cory has to be a man of character and stand up so that he can show his children how a man goes out here and handles business as related to his family. Now, when it comes to Cory Hardrict, I would not call him a simp for looking to go out here and keep his family intact, even though his wife basically violated the word of God by going out here and filing for that divorce and getting involved in other men, because according to the Bible, what Tia Mowry was participating in was adultery. And that whole situation is one where that relationship will possibly never be the same, because this woman basically violated the trust of the relationship. But Cory is basically, I believe, looking at the bigger picture as related to his family. And as he looks at the bigger picture as related to his family, what he's looking to do now is looking to try to maintain the integrity of his family. And this is something I gotta respect Cory Hardrict for. I gotta respect him for putting his family and his children above the feelings that he has about his wife. And as his wife has gone out here and experience the world, she's basically coming back in a position where she's basically, again, going back to her husband, again, in a very ignominious fashion, and an ignominious fashion because this woman basically wanted to experience the world, and now that she's experienced the world, she basically has learned a couple of hard lessons about life. And one of those hard lessons about life is one that I talk about in my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, is that when it comes to a lot of these friends out here, don't let them egg you on to leave a good situation, because when it comes to a lot of black women, a lot of times a lot of black women will have it good, but won't appreciate things being good. They'll have a good man who's taking care of them. Unfortunately, what happens is these friends who are single will go out here and egg you on to go out here and leave your man. And the reason why they want you to leave your man is because they want you to be miserable in their company. And many of these black women indoctrinated into feminism, what they will do is talk about how you can always go out here and do better on your own, but you can never do better than what God has blessed you with. That's a lesson I'm hoping Tia Mowry has learned, because again, when God blesses you with a good husband, you need to appreciate that husband, because that husband is, again, out here providing you with leadership, providing you with structure, providing you with order. And when a man truly loves you, he's going to give you structure, and that routine may seem boring to most of those feminist indoctrinated women who are out in the world, but that is a blessing because you have a stable environment where your needs are being taken care of. And again, Tia Mowry didn't appreciate that because she thought she was the breadwinner, and got upset when Cory started to actualize his potential as a man. And as he started to actualize his potential as a man in the world of acting, this is where he was coming into his prime. And this is where Tia Mowry's insecurities got the better of her and had her talking about she wanted to divorce her husband, because she didn't understand that, yes, when it comes to men, again, a man will start out at the bottom in the beginning, very slow. And a woman may come up very fast because women are in their prime when they're in their youth. But a man gets into his prime in his 40s. And as Cory was starting to actualize his potential, Tia's insecurities got the better of her. And this is where she possibly listened to many of these feminist indoctrinated women who told her to walk away from the word of God, and had her believing that she was justified under God to divorce her husband. And this is where she got these crazy ideas and decided that she could do better than Cory. And as she thought she could do better than Cory, what she thought she was going to do was go into the social marketplace and be on the same level she was when she was in her late teens and 20s, when she was in her prime, and thought she was going to be able to find another man on the level of Cory Hardrict, not understanding how God had blessed her with a good man. But the whole thing was when she entered that social marketplace at 45 years old, what happened was she wound up with the rudest of rude awakenings when she found out that the entire social marketplace had completely changed. And that's the shock to the system that many feminist indoctrinated women wind up on when they go out here and divorce their husbands. What they wind up finding out is that the whole social marketplace has changed. Moreover, they find out that there's a lot more competition in the social marketplace, and with there being a lot more competition that's actually younger and more attractive than they are, they basically wind up overwhelmed because they can't compete with those women for the pool of men out there. And again, that pool of men for the older woman basically has dried up at this point. And it's dried up to the point because most of the quality men have basically been snapped up by not just the smarter black women, but by Latino women, by Asian women, and even white women. and these women basically have taken those men off the market, and the pool of guys basically has dwindled down to just the last few scraps of single men, and those men basically are single for a reason, and Tia Mowry basically found out why those men were single for a reason, and it's basically because, again, these men have a series of dysfunctions that I've talked about in many of my gags, and when I talk about how the only guys left are old Pookie, old Ray Ray, and Romy Rome. And all three of these guys basically are in the social marketplace because they have serious issues. Old Pookie basically is still in his mama's house, still sleeping in the racing car bed that he had ever since he was 8 years old. And the only way you can get a date with this dude is if mama is not needing her Buick LeSabre to go to church. Otherwise, you're going to have to take the bus with old Pookie if he can get some money out of the couch cushions. And old Ray Ray basically is working security at one of these stores like Walmart or Target and looks like old Otis from the Old Martin show. And you might be able to get him on a date if he's either working can get out of working a shift, because usually this guy got maybe 2-3 security jobs and he got to go from one job to the other just to be able to pay his rent, even and possibly to even just get up enough money to be able to take you out. And then there's Romy Rome, who basically is just in the club at about 50 or 55 years old, and he's an old gray-headed dude who's still acting like he's grown old, but he hasn't grown up, and he's out here wearing the same old clothes from the 1990s or the early 2000s and still trying to go pick up chicks as he's out there with his rusty Cutlass Supreme with the 8-track stereo and the Teddy Pendergrass tape stuck in the deck. And it's also got rusty quarter panels, and you don't want to know what's going on in that back seat with all the stains in the back seat. But this is his ride, and this is what he's going to come to pick you up in: a old rusty Cutlass Supreme with rusty quarter panels, a Teddy Pendergrass tape stuck in the deck, and basically just smelling like ravioli and cigarettes. And this is going to be your ride. And if he doesn't, and after he picks you up, he's gonna take you over to that Arab red and white chicken place for a 2-piece meal, or he's gonna get you some shrimp fried rice and some chicken wangs. I mean, this is what you gonna get from Romy Rome. And again, these are the dating prospects for an older woman. And that's the second act that had Tia Mowry running to basically leave the theater and get away from this drama, because while she was thinking that she would be able to participate in some hypergamy by looking to monkey branch to another man from Cory Hardrict or level up to another dude, she basically found herself falling several levels in the social marketplace. And this is why Tia Mowry basically wanted to, again, wrap up this second act in this whole paradigm of failure and hope to wrap this second act up in a way to basically salvage her reputation, hoping that she could salvage her reputation because at this point she knows that now there's nothing in the social marketplace, but she could have learned this and stayed with her husband had she listened to YouTubers like myself and guys like Mr. Chris from Chris and Company and guys like Mad Voodoo Man, aka the Iceman. Again, older men who basically have seen what's been going on in these streets. I mean, I myself have seen what's been going on in these streets. And again, when it comes down to these streets is rough. And again, these streets is rough. And again, anybody who's smart and young who can get themselves established, what you do is you get married as soon as possible. When you're in your 20s, you find your wife. And again, once God blesses you with a wife, the wife who's smart is going to stay with that husband of her youth the way the Bible says. No, they're not going to be out here running those streets or looking for a better deal like many of the feminists do, like I talk about in my book, The Woman Crisis, because the quest for a better deal always leads to a raw deal. And that's what Tia Mowry got, a raw deal. She got a raw deal when she went out here in these streets thinking that she was still the young hottie she was during the days of Sister Sister and the game. But sadly, as she tried to play the game, she wound up getting played by all of the old Pookies, old Ray Rays, and Romy Romes, who basically were left over in the social marketplace and learned a hard lesson about these streets, and learned a hard lesson, again, how rough these streets are, because these streets get rougher as you get older. And again, any smart guy out here, any smart girl, when they're out here, especially women, you're smart enough to understand, okay, if the Most High has sent you a partner, you need to go out here and take that opportunity. And again, as you get older, thank God, you don't have to go out here into this nightmare of a social marketplace. You don't have to deal with these just dysfunctional guys. And again, just like there are lots of women who are single in these clubs and bars and in this social marketplace, they're single for a reason, because they have some issue that keeps them from being able to work in a relationship. And when it comes to those dudes, they also have issues, because if, again, a guy is out here and he's still on the marketplace, again, many cases it's for a reason, unless God has decided to keep that man away for a reason. But the whole thing is, when it comes down to that social marketplace, you don't want to be out there. And while many women will, like a Jessica Alba, will sit there and say, oh, that guy's a roommate, they really don't appreciate what God has given them, because again, feminism makes many women go out here and think that they can do better on their own, when God never meant for a man or a woman to be alone. No, he never meant for a man or a woman to be alone. And when you think a guy is a roommate, like Jessica Alba wants to believe, you're on a bad road, just like Tia Mowry, because again, you don't appreciate what God has given you a man who's given you structure and a routine, a man who has given you a place where you can have everything reliable, a place where everything is consistent, a place where you can be comfortable. The mistake most women make when they get comfortable is to let their hypergamy kick in and start thinking about looking to pursue an opportunity to find a man of higher resources and a higher social status, not understanding that the place you're perched in the tree of life is a good one to be in. And sadly, as they hope to monkey branch to a place that's on the same level, they wind up falling out of that tree. And that's what Tia Mowry basically has done. She's basically fallen out of the tree of life and now is scratching and clawing her way back up that tree, hoping that Cory will let her back into the nest that they established. That's what Tia's hoping will happen with this reconciliation. And as a guy, again, while I do, again, oftentimes tell men when it comes down to women not to take them back if they leave you, in the case of Cory Hardrict, I'm going to have to make an exception, because, again, he's got to think about his kids, and he's got to think about, again, showing those kids an example of manhood. And as the father, again, has to look out for those kids so that they won't wind up on the road to becoming men and women in crisis. Now, this relationship may never be the same at this point because of Tia Mowry, again, divorcing Cory. And again, I'm not saying that Cory needs to remarry Tia, but he needs to, again, maintain his home so that his children can see their mother and father together, especially his daughter. His daughter is a child he really needs to take true care with, because he needs to show her that example of a man, that she has a model to see of what a good husband is. And in the case of their son, again, Cory really needs to go out here and, again, show an example of manhood to his son, and, again, show an example of manhood as related to integrity. And that's what I believe Cory is doing at this point, understanding that he has to be a better man than the woman Tia is. And as I said, again, He's reconciling to keep his home together, and I gotta respect him for that. I gotta respect him because as a man, he is in his rights as related to the word of God to leave this woman, especially if she's gone out here and had sex with these other men, because that's where the marriage is broken. And again, the marriage was broken in the beginning basically because of the adultery. But if she's committed an act of fornication, sex outside of the marriage, then he has every right to again leave this woman. But he's not leaving because he understands there's more important things. And again, I really, again, have to respect Cory as the way that he's handled himself in this situation with this divorce drama his wife has started. And I respect him because he's been the one who's been silent about this whole thing, handling his business like a man, conducting himself like a man, and going out here and focusing on his job and focusing on his ultimate job as steward and head of his family, and presenting a positive image of manhood all throughout this whole situation. And while Tia has basically, again, embarrassed herself and embarrassed her whole family, he has shown the character to, again, show that he will go out here and be the bigger man. So I like I said, when it comes down to if this was a boyfriend-girlfriend situation, I would say cut this woman off. If the kids were grown, I would say cut this woman off and leave her to them streets. But if there are small children who need to see models of a family, then you just got to hang in there. And again, Cory is trying to do right by his children. So I got no disrespect for Cory at all. No, this is a situation where, again, I want to see this couple come together, and I want to see this couple come together and basically see both of them get some perspective on their relationship. Because again, like Jessica Alba, I see Tia Mowry in the same situation of being too spoiled and too entitled and not appreciating the man that she got. Because a lot of women, again, like I said before, they don't know how good they got it because they listen to these single feminist friends. And as they're listening to these single feminist friends, they don't think about how good they got it at home, to have that routine, to have that whole setup and structure. They don't appreciate what they got. No, they're seeing all these women out here in these streets getting drunk, going out here and so-called having a good time, but not seeing how those women go home alone at the end of the night when they are at home enjoying a good life with their kids and enjoying a good life where everything is stable. And that's what Tia Mowry wants to get back to, because she realizes she basically screwed up. And again, if this was, again, a single person, I'll repeat it once more, if this was a boyfriend-girlfriend situation, you don't take them back. If this is a situation where your kids are grown, you don't take them back. If you don't have any kids and you're married and she goes out on you, yeah, you can get rid of that chick. But if there's kids, and again, you have children like a Tia Mowry or a Jessica Alba, you got to be a man of character and, again, keep working with that woman. Keep working with that woman. And again, while you may have a broken trust, you've got to trust God at this point. And you've got to trust God at this point because this is more than about you. This is about your children and about showing your children the love of God and an example of Christ. And sadly, there was nobody there when Tia had the devil in her to rebuke this Jezebel spirit, a Jezebel spirit that has Tia Mowry not going to coast in her to her golden years and be an example of family, but now has a tarnish as related to her family, a tarnish that, again, Cory is forgiving, and hopefully they will be able to go on as trying to rebuild their family and rebuild their family so that their kids can be kids who grow up to become successes and not men and women in crisis like Michael Jordan's son. Now, if you want to learn why women like Tia Mowry enter the paradigm of failure, you can pick up my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find Why 70% of Black Women Are Single at other online booksellers like Barnes & Noble, Draft to Digital, Google Play, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to learn why women like Tia Mowry wind up on this road to, again, being women in crisis and winding up, again, winding up with these ideas of thinking they can do better than what God has given them, you can pick up my book, The Woman Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Woman Crisis at other online booksellers like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to see me take more celebrities to the barbecue, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteem Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this action-packed, all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem Horror in the Hamptons in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.